Welcome to Books and Ideas Audio, a presentation of the Vancouver Writers Fest. The Vancouver Writers Fest connects people to exceptional books, ideas, and audio through year-round programming that ignites a passion for words and the world around us. We carry out our work on the unceded and ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. My name is Leslie Hurtig, Artistic Director, and today we invite you to listen to a special episode of Books and Ideas Audio. We've just recently released our fall reading list, which outlines most of the 120 authors that will be visiting us for Festival Week in October. We've invited staff to share some of the books from the reading list that they're most excited about. Our reading list can be found on our website at www.writersfest.bc.ca. Our full program of events will be released at the end of summer, and tickets will go on sale at the beginning of September. That's just actually right around the corner, I'm realizing. In the meantime, I would like to thank our government funders for helping us make our events possible, and they are the Canada Council for the Arts, the Government of Canada, the BC Arts Council, the City of Vancouver, the BC Government, and CMHC Granville Island. We really could not do our work without you. Thank you. So perhaps I'll start by talking about how we go about programming the festival and what exactly is the reading list. Through the spring, my colleague Sarah Wong and I were able to sit down and have Zoom conversations with publishers from across Canada and some in the United States, where they shared with us their upcoming books and authors that they knew would be on tour this fall. We try to reach out to as many publishers as possible, the small presses, the independent presses, the medium presses, and of course the larger presses like Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, and HarperCollins. We get hundreds and hundreds of pitches, and we receive dozens upon dozens of books into the office for us to consider. And then we go about trying to read as much as we can and trying to balance the list of authors that will be coming to the festival in the fall. So we have many different genres on offer. We have poetry, we have fiction, we have a lot of memoir, graphic novels, a beautiful array of children's books, from everything from primary picture books up to beautiful YA titles as well. We have authors who are writing in multiple genres. And this year, as with other years, we have a guest curator who's bringing his own ideas to the fold. I'm very happy to say that this year, our guest curator is the 2021 Scotiabank Giller Prize winning author, Omar El-Akkad. Omar has given us a wonderful list of authors that have all said yes to coming to the festival. He has curated 6 events for us during Festival Week, which, by the way, I should have said, is from October 17th to the 23rd on Granville Island here in Vancouver. So we've got Omar's authors, we've got a whole bunch of our authors. We cast the net wide and see how many of our invitations are accepted. And then we start filling holes to fill in the programming. And ultimately what we end up with is hopefully around a list of 115 or so authors who come to us at the festival. And what the reading list represents are those authors. It gives you the chance to peruse who will be coming in the fall, but also maybe get a jump start on your reading over the summertime. Many of these books have already released. Some of them don't release until September or October. But if you have a look on our website, you'll see a lot of titles that we're excited about and that we'd love for you to check out. As for the programming team, our next job is to take all of these remarkable writers and put them into events that will inspire and entertain and touch upon some of the most pressing issues that we're all facing in this time. So that's a bit about the reading list, and now we're going to hear from staff and their top picks. I'm going to kick things off by telling you a bit about Elamin Abdulmahmoud's Son of Elsewhere. You might be familiar with Elamin if you've listened to any CBC radio podcasts or programmings. He's a full-time culture writer at BuzzFeed. He hosts actually 4 different CBC podcasts, and he's one of my favorite voices to listen to on the radio. Elamin emigrated to Canada from Sudan at the age of 12, and now he's written a collection of essays about his experience when he arrived in Canada until about the time of university, where he was trying to blend in and trying to make people feel comfortable around him. I was realizing in doing this that he was, in fact, denying his history and his identity. This book is a lot about what it is to straddle 2 different places and what it is to come to realize who you are and embracing that. I'm a big fan of this book, and I can't wait to meet Elamin in person and to listen to him talk more about it. Another book I'm really excited about is called Holden, After and Before, a love letter for a son lost to overdose. This is a debut book by Tara Maguire, a Vancouver-based author, and it is a hybrid, a combination of fiction and memoir, melding together truth and fiction as she grapples with the loss of her son from an accidental overdose. Throughout the book, Tara listens to Holden's voice after he dies and imagines what led him to his tragic end. It's a beautiful love letter to her son. It is also an important book that grapples with the realities of this opioid crisis that we are living through. So I'm really looking forward to hearing Tara speak with us about this book. And from a craft level, I'm looking forward to hearing her tell us about her process and how the book became both fiction and memoir and what that was like to weave together the imagined pieces of Holden's life. I think that's going to be a fascinating conversation. All right, it is time for me to turn things over to my wonderful colleagues to share with you their top picks from the reading list and to tell you a little more about some of the books and authors that will be visiting us on Granville Island for the Fall Festival.
Hi, I'm Kylie Schilling, and I am the Executive Director of the Vancouver Writers Fest, and I am excited about all of the books we are bringing to the festival this year, but there's 3 I wanted to talk about in particular. The first is Long Road Home on Blackness and Belonging by Deborah Thompson, and I was fortunate enough to see her give her book talk on this, and it is such a good book. It is a good read. It is a fantastic exploration of some of the tension between place and identity. Deborah Thompson is herself a Black woman who is many generations Canadian, and trying to find where Black history fits into Canadian history and her own identity against the history of the Black migration from the United States, and connecting those 2 histories and visiting her family who chose to stay in the States generations ago, and where does she find connection and how did the different parts of her identity connect. And I will say the book itself is tremendous. It is well researched. It's an unexplored part of the Canadian history and of the history of Black people in North America. But what I'm really looking forward to is hearing her talk about it, because she just brings such compassion and complexity to the issue. And it made me write down every single thing as she was talking. I was taking notes and felt like I was learning new things and looking at things in a new way. So that was really exciting. And I am looking forward to that. Long Road Home by Deborah Thompson. The next book I am really excited for is Wired for Music by Adriana Barton. It's another nonfiction book, and this one is, I think all of us know that music, for many of us, got us through the pandemic. Coming back to live music events and performances is something that we're all really enjoying and looking forward to. And what's so perfect about the timing of this book is all of that background context that certainly for me, I brought to reading it. And she herself goes back and forth between personal anecdotes and her own experience as a high-level cello player and then scientific research. And every time it was, oh yeah, that story sounds familiar. And then here's this research on brain chemistry and how the brain works when it's listening to music that was really fascinating and just reminded me so much how much music brings us joy and happiness and how our brain is really wired for that experience, and it's chemical and it's scientific, and it was a joy to read and made me want to go out and listen to music as well. So that's another one where, again, I am really looking forward to the conversation that will be had at the festival with Wired for Music when Adriana Barton joins us. The final book I'm going to talk about is We, Jane. This one is fictional. By Amy Wall. And this one is it's based on the real story of abortion providers in Canada, all of whom were called Jane. So that was part of the code of talking with them and of how you would access them. And the writing is so compelling and the issue couldn't be more urgent. And what I really appreciated about this is it is a book that dives into the relationships among women and the networks that women form, and also is about the providers themselves and what that is and the relationships that they go through. So again, with everything that is happening right now, this feels like another conversation I am really looking forward to, and that's We, Jane by Amy Wall. So those are my three picks. I think definitely focusing on the ideas and eager for the conversations that those books will provoke.
My name is Ariel Hudnall, and I'm the Fest's Marketing and Publicity Manager. My work's all about the hype, so it's no surprise there are many books I'm incredibly excited for this year's festival. Poetry lovers are about to be blown away by Red River Métis Icelandic poet Jónína Kurtins' atmospheric, powerful poetry memoir, Standing in a River of Time. Kurtins' poetry has had a place in my heart ever since Page's Bone, Inca's Blood, and this much-anticipated collection is sure to stir, heal, and invigorate. Available now. If you're a movie monster lover and a fan of meta-interpretations and reimaginings of popular culture, look no further than Queer Little Nightmares, edited by David Lai and Daniel Zamparelli, including stories and poetry from Amber Dawn, Jay Simpson, Hiromi Goto, and Kai Ching Tom. This collection is at the top of my to-read list this year, out October 4th. I have a soft spot in my heart for fantasy and gothic settings, so J.M. Miro's novel, Ordinary Monsters, is checking all of my boxes. This dark fiction set in the Victorian era, replete with orphans, detectives, and a secret underworld, is just too tempting to pass up. Available in hardcover, ebook, and audiobook now. There's nothing quite like an 80s callback, and Dimitri Nasralla's Hotline does it in the most unexpected and intriguing way. Centering a call center operator navigating every kind of topic, other than for the product she's trying to sell, this novel is an elegy to an era long gone but not forgotten. Available now.
Hello everyone, I'm Leena Desai. I'm the Senior Education and Development Coordinator at the Vancouver Writers Fest. What a wonderful crop of books we have this year. I'd like to thank our Artistic Director Leslie and our Programming Coordinator Sarah for selecting such a great collection of titles. My own interest lies in fiction, so today I'm going to talk about 3 novels by authors participating in this year's festival. I read Kenneth Opel's Ghost Light recently and I loved it. There is something so inherently romantic and spooky about lighthouses. It is not difficult to imagine a lighthouse being haunted by the souls of the dead. Kenneth Opel mines these things we associate with lighthouses to tell a gripping story of 4 teenagers, one of them being a ghost, who come together to avenge the death of a former lighthouse keeper and save the world from a malevolent spirit. Ghost Light is a thrilling, unputdownable book with which Opel joins us this October. It will be available in hardcover and audiobook in September. In Foe and I'm Thinking of Ending Things, author Ian Reid crafted brooding psychological thrillers. These books were filled with an air of unnerving eeriness and shocking twist endings. We Spread is his latest novel with which he joins us at this year's festival. The book follows Penny, an artist who's moved to a unique long-term care residence after she's deemed as no longer capable of taking care of herself. And let's just say things at this care home are not what they seem. On the surface, everything is great. The house is situated in the middle of a forest, and Penny gets along with the other people her age. She even starts to paint again. But as the days go by, Penny starts to lose her grip on reality, and she starts to wonder whether she's succumbing to the subtly destructive effects of aging, or whether she's an unknowing participant in something more unsettling. After having read Reid's previous 2 books, just the description of We Spread gave me the heebie-jeebies, because I have no doubt that just like Foe and I'm Thinking of Ending Things, We Spread is going to be a creepy and sinister experience. The book releases in hardcover and audiobook in September. My third recommendation is Heather Smith's Barry Squires' Full Tilt. As an unabashed Anglophile, the premise of this book brought about a smile on my face. I've grown up watching all manner of British comedies, and Derry Girls, although technically Irish, is my current favourite. Unlike Derry Girls, which is set against the backdrop of the Troubles in Northern Ireland in the 1990s, Barry Squires is also set in the 90s, in author Heather Smith's hometown of St. John's, Newfoundland. Here is the publisher's synopsis. It's 1995, and when the Full Tilt dancers give an inspiring performance at the new opening of the new bingo hall, 12-year-old Barry Squires wants desperately to join the troupe. The Full Tilt Irish step dancers are the most sought-after act in St. John's. Having watched Riverdance twice, Barry figures he'll nail the audition. With questionable talent and an unpredictable temper, Barry's journey to stardom is jeopardized by his parents' refusal to take his dreams seriously. Thankfully, though, Barry has the support of a lively cast of characters. His ever-present grandmother Nanny Squires, his adorable baby brother God, an old British rocker named Uneven Stephen. Seriously, how cool is that name? A group of geriatrics from the One Step Closer to God nursing home, and Sybil, a friend with whom Barry gets up to no good. I cannot wait to read Barry Squires' Full Tilt. It just so vividly reminds me of my favorite British comedies. This book is actually available right now in paperback and audiobook. Happy reading!
Hi, my name's Joyce Wan, and I'm the Marketing and Digital Production Coordinator. This is going to be my second October festival at the Writers Fest, but it's my first year being here for the release of the reading list, so I'm especially excited about this year's lineup, and I'm really looking forward to spending the summer reading as many of the books as I can. The first book I'm really excited about is Lesser Known Monsters of the 21st Century by Kim Fu. This is a short story collection, available now from Coach House Books in book, ebook, and audiobook format. These stories fall under speculative fiction, and they're a fun mix of genres with a big dose of surrealism and the supernatural, as well as asking the big questions that sci-fi tends to ask about our society and futures. I've read the first story in the collection, which is titled Pre-Simulation Consultation XF007867, which is a short piece consisting purely of dialogue between a user and an operator of some kind of advanced virtual reality adjacent simulation that works in tandem with the user's own thoughts and memories. In just a few pages, they have a philosophical conversation about reality versus fantasy and what we can create with our thoughts. That's also really funny and touching and very human. So I'm really looking forward to reading the other 11 stories in this collection. The next book I'm excited to read is a nonfiction title, Our Voice of Fire, a memoir of a warrior rising, which is the memoir of French Cree Iroquois journalist Brandy Morin, who's known for her work as a journalist sharing Indigenous stories. She's written prolifically about the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls crisis, of which she's a survivor, and in 2019 she won a Human Rights Reporting Award from the Canadian Association of Journalists for her work with the CBC tracking the progress of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action. She's written for CBC, Al Jazeera, National Geographic, The New York Times, The Guardian, and more. The book is out on paperback August 2nd from House of Anansi, and in the publisher's words, it chronicles the author's journey to overcome enormous adversity and find her purpose and her power through journalism. Brandy Morin's voice really is so powerful and also very direct and engaging to read, and I can't wait to read this important memoir. And the next book I want to talk about is The Translator's Bride by João Reis. He is a Portuguese writer, and this book was translated from Portuguese to English by him. He is a translator, primarily of Scandinavian languages, actually. His writing has been compared to Hamsun and Kafka, and so as a Kafka fan, that was the first thing to draw me into this book. The translator, not João, but the titular translator of the book, has been left by his wife, and he walks around the city filled with obsessive thoughts about how he can win her back if only he publishes a book and buys a house and does this and that. And, you know, who can't relate to that sort of restless, circular thinking from time to time? The book is written in stream of consciousness with these frantic, long, run-on sentences, and it's dripping with dark humor. This is available now on paperback and ebook. Finally on my list is Zachary Ying and the Dragon Emperor by Shirin J. Zhao. This is a middle grade fiction read available now from Margaret K. McElderry Books, an imprint of Simon & Schuster. Shirin was at last year's festival with their amazing debut novel Iron Widow, which was a #1 New York Times bestseller. This new book is a contemporary fantasy that follows Zachary as he travels across China, defeating figures from history and myth so he can seal the portal to the underworld shut. Shirin has described their book on Twitter as Percy Jackson meets Yu-Gi-Oh!, which was my favorite show as a preteen. So I think this book is going to be highly entertaining, and I'm looking for a child to give a copy to. It's available as a hardcover, ebook, and audiobook now.
Hey there, I'm Lauren Dembicki-Polivka, and I'm the Development Manager at the Vancouver Writers Fest. I'm super excited for this year's festival lineup, and in particular, I'm looking forward to the exciting new collections of short fiction. I've loved short stories ever since I worked at the New Quarterly during my undergrad, and have since developed a much deeper appreciation for the short form and the talented writers who have mastered it. The first collection I can't wait to get my hands on is Animal Person by Alexander MacLeod. MacLeod's first collection, Light Lifting, was shortlisted for the Scotiabank Giller Prize, among many others, and was a stunning debut as well as one of my top 5 favorite collections to date. From the publisher, Animal Person is, quote, a collection that beats with raw emotion and shimmers with the complexity of our shared human experience, end quote. Animal Person is published by McClelland & Stewart and is available now. The second title I'm looking forward to reading is Her First Palestinian by Saeed TB. The title comes from TB's short story that was shortlisted for the 2021 CBC Short Story Prize, which you can read on the CBC Books website now. Exploring aspects of the immigrant diaspora experience, it gives a taste of how riveting this collection will be. From the publisher, these, quote, intense, engrossing stories plunge into the lives of characters grappling with their experiences as Palestinian immigrants to Canada, end quote. Her First Palestinian is published by House of Anansi Press and will be available on August 2nd. The third book I've been looking forward to for a long time is Freeman's The Best New Writing on Animals. I've been a fan of John Freeman's anthology since I began working at the festival in 2018, and it seems like with each edition I fall more in love. Freeman, a longtime festival friend and attendee, manages to compile uniquely fascinating groups of writers for these anthologies, and I delight in discovering them on every page. You can hear Freeman speak with contributors to the Fall 2020 anthology in our Books and Ideas podcast episode, What We Talk About When We Talk About Love. This year's anthology features writers including Mieko Kawakami, Sinan Jones, Martin Espada, and many more, as they explore the irrevocably intertwined lives of animals and the humans that exist alongside them. Freeman's The Best New Writing on Animals is published by Grove Atlantic and will be available on October 11th. Add these titles to your TBR lists, and I wish you happy reading.
Hi. My name is Sarah Wong, and I am the programming coordinator here at the Vancouver Writers Fest. I'm really excited to share with you some books we will be featuring in our 2022 Fall Festival. My job is to help choose books and authors from beloved local icons to international superstars and look for relationships inside and outside of the text to make for great conversations on stage. Choosing just a few to highlight is difficult, like choosing a favorite child, or maybe something else I can better relate to, like only one sauce to mix your poke, or only one fighter as the pound-for-pound middleweight champion of the world. But we all have our problems, don't we? And maybe mine is actually a privilege. I'm very excited to see Xue Yiwei in Vancouver. You'd be forgiven to not know that his work spans 20 books. He is hard to pinpoint. He was perhaps a Montrealer even before physically relocating to Quebec. He continues to write in Chinese and has been translated into English, French, and Swedish. And his works seem to float just below the surface of the consciousness of the Trans-Pacific literati. Celia Masoka I, his latest novel, follows a middle-aged Chinese immigrant after his wife's death and daughters moving out. Bereaved and bereft, he questions his relationships to what remains of his 15 years spent in Montreal. His reemergence in Xue's recurring reminder of that strange winter is accompanied by two women, Celia and Masoka, and their own relationships to the city and their life experiences. There's a lot of contemplation in the sometimes languid pace of the story, an almost oppressive loneliness punctuated with such internalized but misdirected grief, especially toward the narrator's daughter, that elicits the reader's empathy, but also frustration. It's a very literary book, and Xue does not withhold the allusions to other masters of European arts and letters. Murakami fans will also feel at home with the throbbing loneliness as man reacquaints with his surroundings. Another example of perhaps not the best parenting skills is French author Violaine Huysmans' The Book of Mother, which illustrates her mother in all of her glorious and less than honorable ways. If the father in Celia Masoka I swallows his disappointments, his indigestible bewilderment at his daughter's neglect consistently simmering just behind the diaphragm, Huysmans' mother is a boiling sauce on high, burnt on the bottom, spewing and sputtering excesses of hurt and insult. I'm reminded of Tony Soprano describing his own mother to his therapist. Very dramatic. Every night to her was a night at the opera. Both Livia and Catherine, or Maman, share this mercurial nature, but Livia's misery is one that corrodes, it spreads, albeit from afar. On the other hand, Catherine in Huysmans' triptych fulminates, detonated by the very elements that make the woman, the mother, the artist. The Book of Mother is a visceral debut, longlisted for the 2022 International Booker Prize, and is translated by Leslie Hurtig from the French Fugitif parce que reine, a nod to The Fugitive, the 6th volume of Proust's In Search of Lost Time. Something's telling me that the 1980s will be a focus at this year's festival. Call me biased or just plain inexperienced, I need to come out and say that the 1990s is truly where it's at. One of my most profound memories, never failing to stir up melancholic nostalgia, is watching Hey Arnold, about the incredibly kind and confident football-headed character, his friends, his stoop, in his little corner of the city. A recurring non-human character of the show is his home, the Sunset Arms, a boarding house filled with eccentric residents of both the human and domesticated kind. In the same vein, apartment 713 is right up my alley. My 8-year-old self is bursting with anticipation at this new middle grade title by Kevin Sylvester. I thank my parents for choosing less derelict buildings whenever possible, but the other motifs of apartment dwelling, the super doing rounds, the no nail rule that had me gingerly taping and of course then ripping my "You Drive Me Crazy" poster, bring me right back to yesteryears. One thing that I could only experience vicariously through Hey Arnold and now this book is freely visiting the other units and interacting with the other residents. The 1990s for me was a mixture of developing English skills, my parents' anxiety of stranger danger, and my general disinterest in conversing with neighbors about federal pensions and seasonal migrations to Florida. What I would have done to have building friends, apprentice with a building manager, or enter a forbidden door, travel through time to save the architecture of people's memories and stories. The suggested reader age is 8 to 12, the same age where many young children are learning from adults' my house, my rules, and negotiating their transition to an older age group with more autonomy and responsibilities. Kevin Sylvester beautifully considers this young child and their agency to make a house a home. Celia Masoka I and the Book of Mother are available to purchase in hard copy, ebook, and audiobook formats, to borrow at your local library, and are both available through the Center for Equitable Library Access. Apartment 713 is forthcoming in September 2022 in hard copy, ebook, and audiobook formats. I hope you enjoy perusing through our reading list with your favorite drink in hand and perhaps some more new reads.
You have been listening to Books and Ideas Audio, a presentation of the Vancouver Writers Fest.